Hey everyone, it's Taylor from the Bros on the Phone podcast. It is March 7th today. I'm here with Livingston,
Hey guys, what's happening?
and we're going to kind of do our, we don't have an interview today. We're going to talk about a couple different things. We're going to briefly talk about the Oscars. If you really want, you could probably find a million different podcasts talking about the Oscars, giving their opinions on who won and everything like that. We're not going to really focus on that today, because it's just probably something that's overdone anyways. We really want to focus on at first involving the Oscars, and it's not really necessarily insult to them, but some of the people that they did not mention in their In Memoriam that we really think are, influential, or we like their films. We've picked out three different actors or filmmakers that we're going to talk about quickly for that. And then we're going to talk about a couple other movies that we've seen, and then A Wrinkle in Time is coming out this Friday. Talk about our predictions and our expectations for that, since that's on my list for our movie draft competition for the year. How about the Oscars? Did you watch much of them, Livingston?
I only watched maybe about 10 minutes of the Oscars, and I used to be really into the show when I was younger, but now I find the show just a little too long this year. It was 3 hours and 48 minutes.
I watched about the same, and I usually watch the highlights. It's just I usually just watch movies.
Yeah, I usually go on IMDb and kind of just see who won and who lost.
Yeah.
I mean, the speeches can get a little too long at times, and they also missed a few stars in the memoriam, and that was a little irritating when I'm like, why didn't they show them? And a lot of people were talking about Bill Paxton. They said they didn't have Bill Paxton because he died on the day of the Oscars, but a lot of people forget that they had people come out and talk about him. So
yeah,
at least they didn't mention him last year. But
yeah, he was more of a weird last year kind of situation, I guess.
Day of, and yeah, it sucks. And I think they had something come out today, or I guess the family's going to sue the surgeon who was operating on him. I guess it's like
really?
Wrongful death. Yeah, that was like yesterday. It was like a year exactly that they came out with that news.
I mean, he was young. He was at early 60s or something,
like
right?
62 or 3.
Yeah. That's too bad. But
sad.
There's a couple that we want to mention that they did not mention in their In Memoriam. The first of which is Powers Booth, and I guess people that know, more recently, he's been in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and he was in the Avengers.
Yeah.
But I really like his role in Tombstone. I think that's one of my
Curly Bill.
One of my favorite movies, anyways. It's one of my favorite westerns, absolutely. But everyone in that movie is so good. But Powers Booth was pretty great in that movie. And they didn't mention him. I was kind of surprised.
Yeah, he was. I also liked him in Sudden Death and Sin City. He always played a good villain.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've
and
seen
he had
Death.
a very. I don't think I've seen that one.
That's
But he had a very
Jean-Claude Van
powerful
Damme.
voice.
Yeah.
He'd say anything and you'd listen.
Yeah.
And it was fun. If you remember him in another more recent one, is MacGruber.
Yeah.
He plays it pretty straight in such a ridiculous movie.
Yeah.
But that was a fun one as well. But yeah, I think Tombstone is probably one of my favorite ones. And he did have a pretty fun arc in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. as well.
Yeah.
Basically the head of Hydra, I think, at one point.
Yeah, and he had he was in Red Dawn with Patrick Swayze. Great, he was great in that. Played the pilot that came in and kind of taught the kids how to survive. Another one they didn't mention was John Mahoney, which a lot of people kind of see him more as a TV actor, but he started out as a film actor. He was the dad on Frasier. But he was in a bunch of films. I mean, he was in Say Anything with John Cusack. He was in Moonstruck with Cher, and The American President with Michael Douglas. I mean, he's got a heck of a resume.
Yeah.
So it's kind of sad that they didn't, at least include him in that list.
Yeah, there was one other that I wanted to talk about that I think is at least the most deserving because of his influence, not just a horror films, but the independent film as well. Mm-hmm. And that's Tobe Hooper.
Yeah.
I mean, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, whether you like horror films or not, it's one of the better independent films also. Like, it really kind of started to push independent film and show that it could be done.
Yeah.
And obviously he did Poltergeist later, which they say, did Spielberg direct part of that, or whatever. But anyways, his name's still on that Poltergeist, so at the very least he made two of the most iconic horror films, really. And I mean, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre influenced so much, pretty much everything that came after that. This was before Halloween, this is before Friday the 13th and all those movies, so it kind of was the first. It wasn't quite the first slasher film, but it really kind of was the first one that was maybe that violent.
Yeah,
It was much more violent than something like Psycho. It was very. It's an overused word, but it really was a very gritty movie.
It's very much how Friday the 13th. It's like they took from that movie more so than they took from Psycho.
Yeah, and so I think that's. I mean, it was so influential in so many ways. I'm really kind of disappointed that they did not give him an in memoriam, and I think he was the most deserving of the three we mentioned today.
Yeah, he was.
And there are others that we could talk about, like Adam West.
But I actually looked him up last night, and he really hasn't been in a lot of movies. I mean, he was in a lot of B movies, but I mean, he's more known, and I can kind of understood that because after looking into it, I'm like, all right, well, I'll give you that.
He is more of a pop culture icon, and he did a lot of TV, really.
Yeah. He was. I don't know if I didn't watch the Grammys or no, not Grammys, Emmys, but they probably had their in memoriam, and I'm sure he was in that.
But those are a couple that we wanted to talk about for the Oscars. If you guys did watch the Oscars, let us know what some of your favorite films were, if you want. But we're not going to go too deep into that today because that's every other podcast about films you're going to listen to. So you can check that out, I'm sure, somewhere else. But we're going to talk about another movie that we watched recently. That's a Netflix original movie that I really enjoyed. It was called The Ritual, and we both watched this movie recently.
Yeah, it's a 2017 British horror film, and I like to start doing something, like a movie of the week, a little segment where we go out and we're going to watch a movie that comes out this week. It could be Netflix, Hulu, Amazon, whatever, and we'll watch it and talk about it on our podcast weekly. But so this is the first one we're going to discuss, and I thought it was a very interesting take on the premise. It was a really well done film, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's basically, just to kind of sum up the plot without giving it away, these friends, after something bad happens to one of their friends, they go on like this trip to the Norwegian woods, kind of a hiking trip, and basically cross some bad things, a monster. Before we go into detail on anything else, I'm not going to say anything else, but it's definitely worth seeing. It's really a psychological kind of thriller with a lot of horror elements, supernatural elements as well. But I think that monster is one of the best designed creatures I've seen in film in a long time.
It was definitely different.
It's really something that, like, if this was like a bigger budget movie and like it came out in theaters, it would be like not as memorable as some of the others, but like it'd be up there. I think it'd be remembered pretty well. So I definitely recommend seeing The Ritual.
I didn't realize it was based on a novel, a 2011 novel, same name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I didn't know that. The author was Adam Neville, and but it's a lot of unknowns in this cast. But they did a good job. I mean, it just proves that you don't really need a name to sell a film, because if you make a good film, people will watch it.
Yeah.
And I think this is getting good ratings, and people are finding it.
Yeah, and I really like what Netflix has done. I mean, giving us a lot of this content like this. Obviously, we had the Cloverfield Paradox, which we mentioned, I think, a couple weeks ago. I don't think that was as strong a movie as this, but
no.
But the way there is good content on Netflix with higher quality, like bigger name stars. I mean, you're gonna have you had Will Smith have a movie on Netflix.
Oh yeah, and we watched that too. That was okay.
Yeah,
and they're making a sequel to that.
Yep, and then Martin Scorsese's next movie is going to be on Netflix.
Well, you heard what Netflix how much they're spending for original content for 2018.
Oh, well, how much was it?
It's between $7 to $8 billion for like 700 new television shows, movies, original content, arranging through a wide array of different things. But that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I'm very curious what they're going to be coming out with, and I don't know when they say 700 original things. I don't know. I don't have the time to sit down and watch that much, but
yeah,
it's
interesting because you have. Your movie studios that they make a movie and it goes to theaters. The studios don't own the theaters, but when Netflix releases something, it's just Netflix. Like they're all self-contained, so they probably make more. I don't know how it works financially, but it's more of they don't have to split the pay with anyone else when someone streams it.
I mean, they're making all their money off of the subscriptions from people, and then there's like over 100 million people that are subscribed to Netflix. So you figure at the minimum they're making like $8 a person.
Oh, it's more than that. It's like $11 now.
Well, no, I mean, I'm sure like the average is probably like $11, $12, but they have like the small where you can spend like $8 for just streaming or like $15 for rent, depending on what package you get. But I think the average is probably like $11, $12. But
that's $1 billion.
That's over probably now it's probably over $1 billion a month that they're making, and I'm sure taxes and whatnot too. But I mean, still, that's a heck of a funding program that they got there.
Yeah, Netflix is pretty great, and I like. I mean, there was a time when Netflix I feel kind of like slowed down a little bit, but now that their original content is so strong, it's definitely worth having. I think.
Yeah. They haven't really picked up on what Amazon does. Amazon seems to make content that actually goes to award shows and finds their voice through that. I mean, Netflix. I think they had like a documentary that won for best documentary this year at the
saw
Oscars.
that.
But other than that, they really haven't had like any wins for best picture or best show. Well, they did have House of Cards. I think that was the one. But I think Amazon so far is ahead when it comes to awards.
Yeah, it might be. What else have you been watching lately? I watched. I've been watching a show called Lilyhammer on Netflix, which is another Netflix original show. I think it was their first original show back in 2011.
I have yet to check it out. I've heard about it.
I'm on season 2. It's worth watching. Season 1 was good, but as soon as I started season 2, I was like, okay, this is. Clearly, they had a higher budget, or at least much better cinematographer, or something.
Right.
It's way more cinematic than the first season. The first season is, I mean, it's kind of a comedy drama. The first season really kind of, at least in terms of shot, seemed more like a comedy. Mm-hmm. The second season much better, I guess, a little more serious in terms of how it's shot, but it's still funny.
Yeah,
that makes sense, and it's much better written too. So I'm not sure. I think what the way of the show was, it's a Norwegian show. Norwegian and American show, but I think the first season was just on a Norwegian channel. Then Netflix got the rights to it or something, and then the second season Netflix partly funded. It's something different like that. I honestly have to look it up exactly, but it's an interesting show. Steven Van Zandt is a New York criminal who goes into hiding in Norway just because he liked the Olympics in '94, and they were in the town of Lillehammer. And he's like, I want to go there. And this is kind of it's kind of a mix of maybe something like Fargo in a way, because you have more of a small town type of feel and the crime going on.
Right.
It's also maybe obviously the reference to Sopranos because of Steven Van Zandt. But no, it's worth watching, and it's only 3 seasons, and I know it was canceled, so I'm not sure how they end it. But, at least the journey is fun so far.
Yeah. The only new show I got going on right now is Altered Carbon. It came out a few weeks ago. Yes.
I watched a little bit of that. I haven't seen a whole lot yet, though.
It's really different. They have, it's almost like a cross between Blade Runner. I'm sitting there trying, there's another movie out there I'm trying to think of. It's like where they
The Sixth Day.
The Sixth Day, that's right. And they're basically they have a thing inside their spine that, kind of, it's like a hard drive for their memories and their mind. And if something happens to them, like if they die or get shot in the head or something along those lines, they'll take that thing out of the spine, put it into another body, and you'll keep surviving. And this guy was, I guess, sleeping for like 200 years, and he was hired by this guy to kind of find out who murdered him, his other body. Yeah. And it's interesting. It's like, I don't know exactly when it's based. It's based in the far future, like there's other planets and we're traveling to different worlds, and everything's all built up and it's very futuristic and dark and gritty. But yeah, so far I'm into it. It's like I'm in episode 4 right now.
How many episodes is it?
I think it's like 11 or 12.
Okay, and that's another Netflix original then.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one I'm definitely going to check out. Another one I'm going to check out is Jessica Jones season 2, which comes out fairly soon, right?
Comes out this Friday.
This Friday?
Okay.
Yeah, I watched the first season. It was great. Probably one of the better Netflix Marvel shows, I think.
Yeah, it's up there with. I think The Punisher was my favorite.
I have yet to finish The Punisher.
It's beautiful.
The Punisher was your favorite, though.
Yeah, I mean, after watching it, Daredevil season 2 was probably up there, and that was mostly because of The Punisher being involved in that show. But then I started watching this, and I think I watched it all on a Sunday. I just kept going until it was done. Yeah, I had nothing better to do that day. It was a couple Sundays ago, and yeah, great. I mean, I like the dark. It's probably the best Punisher that we've had since Dolph Lundgren and Thomas Jane and what's his name, Ray
Stevenson.
But I think he's the best out of the four for sure.
Ray Stevenson sure didn't last long in Thor Ragnarok.
Nope. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert if you haven't seen that movie.
That's a great movie as well.
It's not a new movie. It's not like it just came out. So
no.
If you haven't seen it. Spoiler alert, by the way, for Thor Ragnarok. Yeah, he's in like one scene and he gets killed immediately by Hela.
Oh yeah. They kill the entire. What do they call that group that Thor's always hanging out with? He had his team. They called him like the Fabulous Four or something like that.
I don't know. Yeah, they all get killed immediately.
Yeah, other than what's her name?
She wasn't there, was she?
She wasn't in it, and it was because of her show that she's got going on NBC.
I know who you're talking about. I can't remember her name. I know who she is because she was also in an episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, Sif.
Now we're kind of getting
Lady
really
Sif is the character's name. Her name is Jamie Alexander.
Okay.
And she's in a show.
I haven't seen her show.
I watched the first 2 seasons of it. It's called Blind Spot.
Yeah.
And I got out of it after season 2. It's just the same stuff. Like they find her in the middle of Times Square. Her body's just slapped full of tattoos that are like clues to a bunch of crimes. And she basically runs into like the FBI, and they kind of solve crimes together, and it all kind of, I don't know. I fell out of it, and I just kind of got out of the show. I mean, it's not a bad show, but it just kind of drags a little bit.
It got repetitive?
Yeah, a little bit.
Huh. I wonder if she'll ever show up in another Thor movie.
I hope so, because, I mean, you got to tie up the character.
Where's Ray Stevenson? Where's Zachary Levi?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know where she was or where her character was. I mean, it would be interesting to find out. Maybe she'll pop up in like Guardians 3 or something. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, you never know. She might show up in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. again.
Possibly. So, I mean, she's one of those side characters that can pop up somewhere.
Yeah.
But,
we got from the Punisher to Ray Stevenson to Thor to
Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah.
Did you check out the Christopher Robin trailer that released? Was it yesterday?
I watched it yesterday. Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I thought I don't know why I thought this, but when I first I thought it was going to be like a real life like the actual story, or I don't know, the actual story of the guy who wrote the book or something.
Oh, that was Goodbye Christopher Robin. That came out. I don't.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of for whatever reason. And then Winnie the Pooh shows up, and it's what's his name still doing the voice?
Jim Cummings.
Yeah, so I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, Goodbye Christopher Robin. Did that come out? Yeah, it came out last year. Hour 47 minutes.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't watch it. I heard it was okay. I didn't. It's got a 64% on Rotten Tomatoes right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, when I watched that trailer, I used to watch Winnie the Pooh as a kid.
Oh yeah.
And it was like
I watched the New Adventures of Winnie the Pooh.
Yeah, I did too. But I also saw some of the older stuff that they had. They had like little shorts back in the 50s and 60s. They had like a Winnie the Pooh sing along where he would jump from page to page. And you would sing that song, Winnie the Pooh, while he's jumping, and Christopher Robin's like swinging on a swing and stuff, and they were kind of going through the characters. And I was going online yesterday and reading about the trailer, because I sometimes go on and I'll like look at reactions of what people think of the trailers and stuff. And they were discussing like they didn't like the look of Pooh, and it's like he's a bear, he was not going to look exactly like how he's going to look in the cartoon.
Right.
And I think people had that in their mind, like, he doesn't look like the cartoon.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm glad they got Jim Cummings to do the voice, and I'm sure it'll be a touching film.
No, you can already tell it's going to be one that's, like, really overly sentimental, but like you're gonna cry during it or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I heard that voice, like "What to Do Indeed," I'm like, Jim Cummings.
Yeah,
it's like the childhood memories just come flooding back when you hear Pooh's voice.
Yeah,
but yeah, funny. It was great. But yeah, what's coming out this week on Friday? Is that?
Sorry, we got Wrinkle in Time.
Yep.
Which is on my list. Now I'm going to open my list here real quick.
That's on. And if you haven't seen it, we're doing a movie draft this year, and I think it was like episode 4? No, was it 3? I can't remember what it was. No, actually, it was episode 6, 2018 movie draft. Okay. So if you haven't, check it out. Check out that episode. You'll know what we're talking about. We're basically going through and discussing films. We picked like 8 films apiece, and whoever makes the most box office, box office weekend, the most money.
Opening weekend, yeah. Over just the 3-day though, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Right. And whoever has the most money at the end of the year wins the draft.
Yeah, and so far you're easily winning because I don't have any movies opening yet.
Yeah.
But you had Black Panther, which did I think 202.
Yep, it
did. For the 3-day.
And no one saw that coming at all. And I'm very curious what Wrinkle of Time is going to do this week.
Yeah, I am too because I haven't heard anything about it. So it was my number 8 pick, my last pick. So if it does like. Where was Black Panther in your list? What number was it?
What do you mean by?
Well, where did you pick it?
I think it was my number 3 or 4.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure. I didn't really put them in an order, but.
Okay, yeah. A Wrinkle Time was my last pick, number 8. So if it does like 60 or 70, I'll be happy.
Yeah.
If it does like 30, I will not be happy. It'll be a bad start. But. We'll see. I still got, Avengers is coming out a week earlier now. So
is Rampage. And I got that on my list.
You got that in your list? Okay, yeah. And I think Avengers will do, I think it'll do better than Black Panther. I think it'll probably do 220, 230 maybe.
Yeah, it'll probably do like The Last Jedi numbers. I don't see it doing like anything over that.
Yeah, you never know.
It's a possibility. I didn't know about Black Panther. I thought maybe like 130, 140 for Black Panther, not 201. But yeah, big surprise. And Wrinkle of Time. I haven't seen anything about it. I haven't seen no predictions or nothing.
Yeah, they don't. I haven't seen much about it, which is kind of like it doesn't make me happy. But you never know. Sometimes those movies can turn out to be, what am I thinking of now? Not Sam Raimi. The Tim Burton one a couple years ago. It's like a super obvious one. It's a remake. Alice in Wonderland.
Yeah, it was 2010. That's when it came out.
That did how did that do opening weekend though?
That did over $100 million.
Yeah, it could turn out to be that, or could it turn out to be like Tomorrowland or something?
Yeah. Well. Yeah, it's really hard to say. Right now, the latest tracking for Wrinkle in Time is projected at opening between 30 to 38 million at 3,900 North American locations.
Oh no!
Yeah.
Well, it was a gamble. I don't know. Whatever. That's kind of what I kind of predicted. I kind of feel like it's kind of going to be more like a Tomorrowland, where it's even if it gets good reviews. I think Tomorrowland was mixed reviews.
It might do well. It might get like good word of mouth if it's has a decent rating and whatnot. It might do well between now and maybe Ready Player One. But it's got, I don't know. It seems like February, March, April is like the summer movie season has grown to be like 5 or 6 months long. Just because we had Black Panther a few weeks ago, and now we got A Wrinkle of Time, and then you have next week you got Tomb Raider.
And then
after
is that on any of our lists?
No, Tomb Raider's not on any of our lists. We don't really have anything coming up on our list until we got Wrinkle in Time for You. Then we have Ready Player One right after that, and then you got
Tomb Raider feels like it could be a risk as well.
Yeah,
but it feels probably less risky than A Wrinkle in Time. Although
I think it'll do really good internationally. I think.
Yeah, I think so too.
But Rampage, Avengers. I mean, things get busy like around the end of April for us when it comes to this movie draft. But then you got Pacific Rim, which is in there between Tomb Raider and Ready Player One.
Yeah.
So
I love that first movie.
It's entertaining.
One of my favorite movies. Like that style of movie. It's like what I wish Godzilla was.
Yeah.
Like it's just so much action. And I remember when I saw it in theaters, I was just like, I felt like a little kid. I was like, this is so cool. Like, it's what I wished Godzilla was. It's what I wish Transformers was. Like it, just the big spectacle thing, but still like I don't know, like it's so over the top, but doesn't feel cheesy, if that makes sense. I don't know how I did it.
No, it's good. I mean, plus you have an Oscar-winning director, you can say now, that did the first movie. So
yeah.
But yeah,
my favorite part of the first Pacific Rim, if you remember this, when it was several monsters that came in and attacked or whatever, and they just about to defeated another one, and then like suddenly it stands there and like sprouts wings and starts flying. It's like, oh, that was the coolest part. I remember that. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's like one of those like what the hell just happened kind of moments.
Yeah.
No, it was great. The only thing I'm very curious about though when it comes to this, because Avengers Infinity War, they just pushed that back a week, so it's coming out in April now. And then I guess Rampage was like, oh crap, we're only going to have like a week to make money. Let's push it back a week and give ourselves 2 weeks,
Yeah.
And that also when that pushed that back, it made Ready Player One all of a sudden they only have 2 weeks to make money because of Rampage, and everything in March is kind of pushed together. So it's like, you got to give some movie a little breathing room so it can make some money before another tentpole film comes out. And it's like we have one coming out every weekend for the next 5 months, it seems.
A lot of it now with these studios is like it's almost like the first weekend is the only thing that matters.
Yeah. And that's not. I mean, depending on like Jumanji, that totally blows that theory out of the water because that movie
or
just
Avatar,
or Avatar, Titanic. I mean, you can do any James Cameron movie on that, but
something like Rampage though feels like it would be a very I don't know what the word is. Like it would make most of its money in the opening weekend, and then it'd probably drop off much quicker than some of these other films. Mm-hmm. It just seems like that type of movie. Like it might maybe it'll make $100 million the first weekend, and then it'll drop to like 40.
Yeah, and it's one of those. I don't know how it's going to do in theaters. It's one of those like. I think it's going to do better than A Wrinkle of Time, but it was also a little bit of a gamble in comparison to certain things. But it's a new property. I mean, it's based on a video game. It might be the best video game movie ever made. Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see. Tomb Raider
might be great too. It's really hard to say. I mean, I don't know until the reviews and stuff come out, which I hardly ever follow. Honestly, I kind of just be my own critic because there's movies out there that have like 10%, and I love watching them.
Yeah,
it might suck story wise, but it's entertaining. But I'd be very interested to see what's going to happen this year when it comes to how much certain movies are going to make. Of course, we have. A movie draft on the line, so I'm more curious this year than usual.
I guess that's about it for this week's podcast. Then, hoping that we have more interviews coming up soon, and of course we'll keep everyone updated with our movie draft. And let us know in the comments as well. What movies you think you're going to have some really great numbers this year? Because there's a lot of them, I think, and. It's getting to be where every other weekend there's a tentpole movie now.
And since that's the case, I mentioned a few days to you ago to review some of these movies because we had a special review for Star Wars: The Last Jedi, and I enjoyed talking about the movie right after we watched it. So I think we're going to continue that. You're going to go see Tomb Raider next weekend?
Yes. Tomb Raider doesn't come out next weekend.
Was it or was it the weekend?
Or it comes out. Yeah, well, a week from this Friday. Yeah.
Yeah. So you'll watch that on Friday, and we'll discuss it, and we'll have a in-depth review. I don't know. I guess we'll do a spoiler review. It's more fun to talk about the movie without having to. I don't know. Should we do a spoiler review, or should we do a non-spoiler?
We'll see.
We'll think about it and get back to you. Maybe next week.
Yeah.
But I think that's about it for the day.
All right. We'll see you next week. Have a good one.
Adios.